we can begin.
All right, you're all set.
Thanks, and we'll call this meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee on December 7th at 6 p.m. to order. And first up, we've got, let's see, no, well, there's public comments at the beginning. Is there any public in-house? I don't see anybody. Okay, so no minutes to approve, so we jump right into legislation referred and the grant for wild and scenic Taunton River watershed.
I'll move
Motion to recommend.
approve. Second.
Okay. See, I guess I need to take notes since Josh isn't here. Okay, so that's FY 22-024, and Sean, were you first?
Yes.
Okay. Sean made the motion and Dennis seconded it. Any discussion on this? Any questions?
Nope.
Dennis? Any
No.
questions? Okay. All right, then I'll take a roll call vote on it. Sean?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
And I'm a 3-0. Recommend to approve. All right. Next, we'll move on to our annual tax allocation adoption residential factor.
I'll move to, well, are we gonna get a presentation tonight here, or we're gonna get one at 7 o'clock too? I guess
Oh, we're-
I'll listen. We can hear it twice. This is her rehearsal.
I think Shelley's just here in case you had some quick questions that you might like to have me answered. She'll do the presentation at the council meeting.
All right. Did we accumulate like 50% more in commercial and industrial zones so that our rate is higher than 12 or 13%?
Last year, exactly the same.
All right. I don't have any other questions.
But what about properties? How many new homes are like going on the tax?
There were 71 new homes of single families, 8 condominiums, and 1 3-family.
And do you know like how many are in waiting, like that are in progress to get on the tax roll, or that's?
I can let you that. I don't have
That's all
that
right.
right now.
That's all right. I just think so about 71 new homes. Is that high? Is it about average or?
I would say that was high,
Yeah.
but it's average for the last couple of years. So we used to average, what, about 40 to 45?
That's good to know. Thank you.
I can, for the meeting at 7, I can go back. Do you want me to go back? How many years would you like me to go back to?
No, you don't.
No?
No,
None?
You don't have.
Okay.
Dennis just like to ask questions.
I just figured
Okay.
Well, thank you, Shelley, for spending time with us.
Because they'll
You're
all
welcome.
have two. Because they'll all
Yeah.
have at least 2 cars in the driveway.
Yeah, and Dennis will
Right?
want,
Only
Dennis
one
will
more.
want, and Dennis will want them sorted by color, so you can have that prepped in 45 minutes.
Yeah. How
So that's
many-
it?
Yeah,
Other
that's all.
questions?
I don't have, I think we should keep the single tax rate as we always have. So I make
All
a
right.
motion
Dan.
to adopt the allocation and adoption of the residential factor.
Of
I'll
1.
of 1. Yeah, I'll second that recommendation.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Dennis, how do you vote?
Yes.
John, how do you vote?
Yes.
And it's 3-0 to recommend adoption of this.
Okay, I'll see you at 7.
All
Yeah.
right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep, bye-bye.
All right, moving on to 026, which is the BAA collective bargaining contract ratification. And then 27 is the actual dollar amount for the transfer, right? So they're linked. And it's only $8,000 change.
Correct,
It's effective, right?
correct.
Is that, Michael, is that to catch up or is that what the overhaul cost will be?
How do you mean, Sean?
What, well, was the contract, when was it approved?
Well, it hasn't been approved yet. So
Okay,
unlike most years, or unlike most times that we come for a contract ratification, for both the BAA and the USW, we happen to have a funding order right behind it. We usually wouldn't do that. We'd let the council ratify and then we'd come back to you with a funding order. But in this case, I'll tell you quite honestly, the BAA should have been on your last meeting and I didn't put it on. So we just combined the funding and the order, the ratification as one.
As I understand, that's a backfill to handle what the July 1st through now contract or through this fiscal year, right?
Oh, right. The funding is this year. And that funds back from July 1st through June 30th.
okay, that was my question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay,
All right, so we'll take 26 first, which is the contract itself. I think it was just a short MOA, right? And it's not in the packet here, but that's okay.
Yeah, I apologize for that. We're trying to adjust to some new people. So, but I can show it on the screen if you want.
You guys want to see it at all?
Michael, what do we have for, is this a 3-year contract?
It's a 3-year contract, right? I'll go over the terms.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to read it on my screen, I don't think, but
No,
so it's this year it's a zero. I'll call them COLAs because that's the way they're referred to in the MOU. We're trying to move away from the term COLA, but it's a zero COLA in FY22, which is this year, and in lieu of that, we're giving everybody a $500 stipend. Next year is a 1%, and then the year after that is a 1%. So that's what you have for COLAs. We are also going to extend the wage matrix, essentially add 5 steps and reduce 5 steps from the beginning. That's probably roughly in keeping with the wage and classification study. And really, that's it. I think. Am I missing anything, Tony?
Nope, you covered it.
Yeah. So that's really it.
all right, I'll make a motion to recommend.
I'll second.
All right. Any other discussion?
Nope,
Hearing none. Sean, how do you vote?
yes,
Dennis?
Yes.
All right, I'm a yes. All right, on to 27, which is the transfer. That's the $8,000 self.
motion to recommend.
I'll second.
All right. Any other discussion?
Nope,
All right, hearing none. Sean, how do you vote?
yes,
Dennis, how do you vote?
Yes.
I'm a yes, that's 3-0. All right, moving on. The USW contract. You want to do the same thing? Just
Sure. I'll run through that. It's a 3-year agreement, as is the BAA. Some of the minor changes we negotiated a call out of 4 hours, minimum call out of 4 hours, which aligns with all the other bargaining units. And that rarely gets exercised. It's usually when there's a fire and they have to call out the building inspector or call out the electrical inspector or so forth. So it's not a common occurrence. We essentially evened off folks that are in grade 8 and 10 of the matrix to track more closely with the BAA levels. So similar job functions, we just try to get those in line. And I don't think I'm telling stories out of tune. We're going to lose most of our BAA folks over the next few years. So it's chances are that chances are that it'll get merged into the USW. So we're kind of taking some of those pre-steps now. Same thing, we did a $500 stipend, and in return, there was a 0% increase for FY22, a 1% in 23, and a 1% in 24. So it essentially sort of mimics in many ways the BAA contract. Similar 5-step increase and a reduction of the first 5, or elimination of the first 5. And that's about it. So it's actually almost identical to the BAA.
Yeah, those, I don't know, Michael, I think these, in my opinion, some of the, I mean, they agreed to it. I think these increases are very low, but inflation is certainly going up quite a bit, but they agreed to it, they agree to it.
Well, they don't, they're not coming out of it horribly. For those that will now see an extra step, you're looking at a 2.5 increase, and then possibly a step, and then add to that the 1%, or in year one, the $500. So they're not doing too badly. The COLAs look small, but I don't think, in actuality, they're doing okay. They're not tracking current inflation, but it's only current inflation is only temporary. So I'm told.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, Dennis?
No.
All right. Anyone want to make a motion to approve this?
Motion to recommend.
I'll second.
All right. Sean, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dennis, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. 3-0. All right, the transfers on the next page. Looks like it's 45-6. As Dennis just characterized, that's low, right? Which is
That's low.
Yeah, so this just reflects what I just said. Portions of it coming out of one-time stabilization, where we tend to put funding when we don't want to tip our hand on negotiations, and then water and sewer reserves and golf retained earnings. So the enterprise funds pay for their increases. General fund or one-time stabilization pays for the general government.
right. Any other questions? Want to make a motion to recommend?
A motion to recommend.
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. Dennis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sean, how do you vote?
Yes.
And 3-0 on this one. So, okay. Next up, the capital plan. So I did make contact with somebody at FinCom. So they're still asking questions about this. So I saw your note, Michael, about a few of the changes, and that I guess that at the council we could still open the hearing or have the hearing on it.
You can, so procedurally, yeah, you can actually open the hearing, have the hearing, and close the hearing. Obviously, FinCom does not have a recommendation yet, so they'll probably have one next time they meet, is my guess. But you can go through your process. You just can't vote vote them. And you don't have to close the hearing. If you choose to keep the hearing open for some reason, you can do that, but you don't have to do that by any means.
At the council level, we can vote here if we wanted to. Yeah.
Right. Correct.
But so what do you want to do, Bill? We'll make a motion to approve, but I have some questions.
Yeah, you had some questions. So do you want to cut those down?
Put it on the table. I have questions. By the way, Tony, you sent me the capital improvement plan from 21 to 26. Thank you. I don't know how I ever missed this. Was it ever at the council? I don't remember it coming to the council meeting. It probably did.
Well,
But
yeah,
it's real. I'm telling you, I spent time looking at it. I don't know how many people do that, but it's pretty nice. I like it. Gave me something to do.
as long as I give you something to do,
Yeah.
Dennis, I'm happy.
I just
Where's,
don't-
where's your dog park? Is it still
It's
23?
in there, 23, yeah. But I had the one prior to that. That's the one I was looking at. So that's, but I hope, you know, I hope everybody takes a look at this. It's, I'm sure it's a lot of work put in together. Anyway, my questions. Software and software. So we got two software requests,
Mhm.
integration and implementation, TCM, HR, and PO. I guess it's HR and purchasing, I don't know what they, and then the other one is HRIS, which I'm sure is something to do with human resources.
Yep.
So let's start with those two. I
Michael,
don't,
Michael, you want to go first or?
Yeah, it's just, just very basically, so that you're right, Dennis, the HRIS is human resource software. So it's essentially allows us to streamline, all our HR functions. It's a repository, safe and secure repository for all the documents that we have to retain. We can do that electronically now. So that is one, that's obviously a one-time cost. The integration and implementation is essentially Munis, an add-on for Munis that will give us some HR capabilities there, and also give us purchase order capabilities, which quite honestly is a long time coming. But again, that's a one-time cost for the software and implementation and training. So I don't know, Tony, if I missed anything.
Nope, you got it.
so what's in 0.35? What's the difference between 0.35 and 0.40?
What do you,
The project number. The 75,000, which has, HR is human resources, right, for both? So each one of these have a HR component to it.
so let me jump in here on this. So what we're gonna have is Munis has a payroll capacity and some HR capacity, HRS capacity, very limited. It's and the first thing we have to do is get that fully integrated. It's one of the last softwares other than purchase order that we haven't fully gone through and made sure we're using all the bells and whistles of that. The HRIS will be a system that stands alone and also then integrates into Munis. It's because Munis's HRI, what they call an HR system, is nothing more than a fancy database. It doesn't allow for many of the functions required to track all the tracking elements that an HRIS system, training, workers' comp information, FMLA information, I can go on and on. Munis does not have that robust feature in it. So one is to be on the front end of it. That's really going to provide Kimberly and her staff with that HR functionality. And then we still have some work to do inside of Munis and going through all of our settings, position control numbers, and so forth to make sure we're maximizing that particular use. So that's part of that cost. That's on the Munis side. And as Michael pointed out, it's the purchase order implementation. We do not have the purchase order module implemented. That's something we want to have on our radar and get to. title content management, we need to fully implement that. We're in the process of doing so, but we have more work left to do.
And what would be the ongoing annual expenses for these two programs?
It drops down. So for instance, an HRIS system may have an $8,000 annual maintenance and upgrade piece. I would say that's on the high side. On the Munis side, you're talking about $3,000 or $4,000 for adding that particular module, and that would be an annual increase. We have reduced our annual fee with Munis by around $20,000 when we evaluated our contract with them 3 months ago. So we feel that we'll be able to incur these particular costs, and it's maximizing our technology so that we're efficient and we can do things effectively.
And the ongoing cost would be built into the regular
Absolutely.
operating budget. It won't be a capital expense every year, right?
No, it will be in the operating budget. That's correct.
Then
Go ahead, Dennis.
I'm going to move on to another subject. If you want to stick with that one, Sean. Yeah, I mean,
No, I have a couple questions on some line items. Are you still gonna?
I got a couple more. Yeah. Okay. 80 Spring Street, Michael, paving and parking project. I assume that's the building that was torn down. I'm just curious as to what you want to pave it, I assume, paving, and what's the parking project?
It's just creating parking space there. It's I don't know why it's so fancily named, but it's essentially paving and creating striped parking.
No intent at this moment to make it metered, right?
No. And quite honestly, it's not going to be metered, especially if we get grant funding sufficient to create the pedestrian bridge down there. That'll be another part. It'll be parking for another trailhead into Stiles and Hart. So we certainly wouldn't do paid parking there. Might be time limited, but it's not going to be paid.
So is it going to be, right now, I believe some of the people that are renting the apartments nearby are parking there overnight. It's there. Is there a gate that's going to go around this? Is it going to maintain its open access to people to park?
I think we'll maintain open access. If it's getting abused on a regular basis by people that live down there, then we'll sign it and start issuing tickets if we have to. But there's no intent to do gates or so forth. I think that's going to hamper the business community down there. I don't want to hamper the what seems to be like a fledgling business community. So
yeah, the only thing I would think of is, as you know, across on Spring Street, the cut-in, if you will, there's like 90-minute parking limit signs. So people that are trying to go in, have a cup of coffee and get their hair cut, not that they hang out for 3 hours, but they're understand that they're people that have gotten tickets there before. So, perhaps that either take away the 90-minute parking on the curb bites, and maybe something to think about is, or also put it in that other area too. So if people can park overnight in a public parking spot, then why can't people enjoy 3 hours of caffeine? But just a thought. It's just one area has got no limits, and then places that people are accustomed to parking is limited. So that's just. But I'm glad to see it's getting paved. Okay, now next thing is the high school or the school system. The capital requests that are on here and I know there are other ones too. Obviously, you can't fund everything in 1 year. Are these the priorities that the school system has set to you, or are these perhaps not the priorities, but ones within the budget that you wanted to allot? Because there's one that it's in the report, Tony. I believe it's scheduled for fiscal 23 is the track. The track at the high school is in dire needs of repair. And I thought that was the ultimate priority of the schools and not so much the tennis courts.
That is in fact their priorities. We had a number of meetings in the spring, and we had meetings late summer, early fall, and this reflects exactly what their priorities are.
So what they're requesting is being.
To the penny.
Okay, I'm gonna ask the same question probably in the council meeting, because there are a couple of residents that have asked me when the track is gonna be redone, because the schools have told them that is their number one priority. So we'll see where it goes, but I'm glad to see that the schools are built into this now, and they'll have some capital needs, provided that Rainham has committed. I don't know if Rainham has committed to the balance of these funds.
In my conversations with Kathy Macedo, the answer to that is yes. The communications are open there. They've gotten those stakeholders on board, and this is really a nice way for us to put this together as a collective group.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Okay, I just have a couple things. So and forgive me, I'm reading it on my phone because my iPad's acting up. Radio equipment upgrades, vehicle mounted and portable, is that police, fire, or both?
That is actually the fire department. So Bill had asked me, and I apologize because I completely slipped my mind, but to do a column showing what departments these are. So the 210 is police department. Anything that starts with 220 is fire department.
Michael, if I can add a piece there.
Yep.
The police chief had requested his own funding for a project that, because of the communication issues that they were experiencing, and then we had both digital and analog. But once the fire department put forth their order for this work, he stated that would solve his problem. So in fact, it solves the townwide problem, but it is being presented, as Michael said, by the fire department. But it also improves communication between all of the emergency groups.
Gotcha. Yeah, it definitely needed on that. SUV command vehicle for the police. So is that to replace the chief's car, or is it to and my question is, what's being replaced? What vehicle?
Right. So that's the fire, again, that's the fire department, Sean.
Okay.
And that's just a standard recycle. You know, we'll trade one vehicle in and get a new vehicle. And so it's really just a standard recycling.
It's about an 8-year cycle, and they're over 100,000 miles on the vehicle that they're replacing.
Okay, so we don't lease, we buy.
On the vehicles, that's correct.
Okay,
The smaller vehicles, right?
the
Yeah.
smaller one, right. I get the big equipment we lease.
Mhm.
And then last one, engineering, plotting plan and survey. You've got S/BIT or CED ? Could you clear that up?
Michael, that's on me. That's called a typographical error. I apologize.
Okay, and then
Shouldn't
just,
be in.
okay, all right. I saw the question mark, so I figured we kind of want to clear that up before it moves forward.
My
You know.
bad. I apologize.
Nope, that's all right. And then my last question is, all the numbers add up, right, Michael?
You know me with numbers. Come on, I rely on Tony for the numbers. No, they do.
That's a 5-year run. That's a 5-year running joke, if anyone cares.
I
Okay.
know, it's a good one.
And
No,
it all
that's it.
comes from the year where I didn't add up everything correctly. So we voted a budget and the bottom line wasn't correct.
Close enough.
First time I did the math in probably 5 years. And okay, all right, that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, I think I have two questions. So going back to the schools, when we met maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they were talking about the high school needing a major upgrade to the HVAC system, but that's not on their priority list right now.
if you look at the entire capital program that Mr. Gallagher referred to, it would be on that, but it is not part of their priorities for this fall.
Okay. All right. And I'm wondering if, going back to the parking lot on Spring Street, obviously we can keep it in the list, but I'm wondering if strategically it might make more sense to keep that as is now. I've parked down there 4 or 5 times in the past couple of weeks, and it's an easy parking. It's got the gravel, it's open. As things mature in that area, and as we get closer to maybe a bridge or something else, we might want to do something other than pavement there, or maybe pavement plus something else. And if we pave it over now, that we'll have to undo that or change it, or that might limit our options down the road. That's just a comment.
Bill, just to take a different approach, if we have the winter that the Farmer's Almanac is saying we're going to have, if we don't pave that, it's really going to rip it up and become probably unserviceable. So I understand what you're saying. I would rather pave it, and then if we have to tear some stuff up, but I think in the interim, that needs to be maintained.
Yeah.
And as it is right now, it's good, but we haven't had a winter yet.
Yeah, but you could say the same thing about the golf course. There's no pavement up there, or next to Crispy, there's no pavement there.
Well, when the golf course pays us back, okay.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
Tony, I'm like an elephant, okay?
I can tell.
Okay, so are there any other questions, any other discussions? Are we at a place now where we could recommend this?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to recommend.
Okay.
Well, I'll second.
Right.
I'd like to know what the finance committee the finance committee concerns are, but.
Well, don't forget too, the council can send it back to us.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to vote. It's this week anyway, but.
No, but I mean, even if it comes back to us, Dennis, and the council can send it back to us to, do more clarity or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, it sounds like there's going to be a couple amendments anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the HVA system isn't plugged in until 2025, 300,000, but the track is actually plugged in for 2022. I know I said 2023. So if things aren't, I would say everything is on here for 2022 isn't funded. Maybe next year, just because it's not funded this year, it'll get higher priority next year if it's, or.
Well, that's on the school committee.
Well, not just the track, but all things. Not everything under 2022 is being funded.
Right.
So from a financing standpoint, think of this, we're still going to have funds left over once we make this appropriation, and we will have free cash in the spring, and we will use that to fund the capital order next fall. The school knows that in their operating budget, they no longer need to put capital in there because it will be funded through another mechanism. That was something that got changed this past fiscal year. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I'll try to send a signal at 7 o'clock that hopefully that they make this track a priority for next round.
Have you been hearing from parents, Dennis? Is that
Yes.
where-
Couple parents and
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I've heard from a couple parents too.
yeah.
And it really runs, and I don't blame them that if we could have, if the school could afford to replace the football field, the playing field, they should have done the track at the same time.
Yeah. I always thought that the football field had a track going around it, but it doesn't.
No,
I always thought it did, but it doesn't.
It would take too much planning. Okay. All right. Any other discussion? So we've got a motion to recommend as it is right now. There's discussion. Sean?
yes.
Dennis?
Yes,
And I'm yes. All right.
it's really nice we can do things like this. It really is.
All right.
Yeah.
Moving on to 31. This is rescinding the loan for Curve Street.
I thought we didn't have to move on this. I thought we could keep it at the council level. It's a rescind, so we can go through it. I had just put out there with this, doesn't have to come to budget and finance to rescind an order. But we'll go through it.
It's here. Yeah.
Where does
Yeah.
it go? Where's the money go to?
No, well, I'm saying for us to approve this on a rescind, it could just stay at the council level.
Yeah, I agree, Sean.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really not, it's not an expenditure, it's not an appropriation. You're
No.
essentially rescinding, you know,
An
a loan
authorization.
order, an authorization, right?
It's only one order, don't get me wrong, but my overall point is, in future, if we're rescinding orders of this nature, it can just do the first reading at the first council meeting and then put on the agenda for the next one. But anyway, I'll make a motion to recommend.
All
I'll
right.
second. I'll second.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. Sean, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dennis, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I'm yes, 3-0. All right. This ratification. Contract ratification,
Yeah,
2.
Michael, you just want to give us a quick overview?
sure, I'll do that. I actually don't, well, I probably do have this electronically, but I have it in paper in front of me. So, so this one, you know, police, as you know, are a little different. Police don't get an annual step, so that the percentages are, you know, we've tried to keep everybody within, you know, sort of the same framework. But in this one, they've got a 1.75 increase, 2% and a 2% over 3 years. Then there's a minor change to the detail rates. They go from 54 to 58. And then for alcohol events, they go from 58 to 60. Let's see. There's some minor changes to canine officer provision, canine officer and motorcycle provision, which just allows, just takes into account 2 canine officers. Really no huge issue there. Spells out shift bidding. There's some changes to shift bidding language that the chief had wanted, so that's in there. So on this one, we are granting each officer a $3,500 stipend, I guess is the best way to refer to it, just for the work that the incredible work that had occurred over the past, well, more than 18 months at this point, but it certainly focuses on all the shifts that they had worked during the height of COVID. They worked a shift. They had time. They had to allocate time prior to the shift and after the shift. And so we felt that $3,500 stipend was good. As you recall or probably know, ARPA funding allows compensation to public safety folks who had worked throughout the pandemic. So this is a piece of ARPA funding, not part of an ongoing, not part of our budget, not part of town funds, but part of ARPA funding. And then the only other thing, the union and the town acknowledged that we will be implementing a camera, you know, body cameras and dash cameras, and having no idea at this point how that's going to work. We just committed to negotiating or essentially working together to develop policy and around storage, review and documentation of camera footage. So that was it.
Michael, for the rate for the detail for alcohol, I think it was a $2 increase.
Correct.
And if you don't know, we can follow up with it. But from your perspective and the chief's perspective, is that going to be a driver so that our own folks will take those details versus going to these events and seeing? And I'm glad they're there. I'm going to say that they need to be there. But to go there and see a West Bridgewater, East Bridgewater or a sheriff there. I'm going to say is personally just disappointing not to have an officer, because those events are always well run. It's good for the community, and I just like to see our folks there more so on the small ones. The big ones, I totally understand, you know, the bodies are there, the parades and things like that. But if someone has entertainment and we need to have a detail there, and I talked to the chief about it, I understand the challenges, but the $2, is it just, you know, a nice to have, or how do we feel?
No, it's, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we have now a chronic problem trying to fill details. And so this is an effort to try to make it a little more enticing, certainly for local folks. This actually puts us more in line with neighboring communities. So we were actually a little bit on the low side. So this kind of puts us in the neighborhood. You know, you hate to be the lowest paid, because then what ends up happening is our people go out of town, and then, you know, we have nobody, we don't have our own to fill those details. So so you're right, Sean, that's part of the effort. Is just get our own folks working details in Bridgewater on both the alcohol and the non-alcohol side.
Yeah, and I know that we don't have specials anymore, which is kind of disappointing. And I think for the details that I've seen around town, we've been pretty good at filling those. I think it's I'll call them the social events, that there's been a detail there, but I just love to see more consistency around a Bridgewater police officer being there than others. But I'm glad they're there again. I'm not saying they shouldn't be.
Yeah, no, you're preaching to the converted on that one.
That's it for me, Bill.
A lot of the younger officers, they don't really want to do details. They don't. But the more, you know, you get the retirees that might want some extra money too. But Mike, I want to go back to the ARPA money for the $3,500 stipend. I assume this is the category of what they have termed premium pay, right? Or is that different?
I think that's the term. I think that is the term, Dennis.
That's correct.
And isn't it for essential workers, or does it specifically classify public safety?
Yeah, I should have said essential workers. You're correct. We have, so I think our intent, you know, we have this negotiation's concluded. We have a negotiation that we think is almost concluded with the firefighters. And once we have completed those, we'll probably come back to you proposing other, you know, non-public safety employees who also were required to be out in the community and in the building for some level of quote unquote premium pay. But that's, you know, that's where we want to get these settled before we come back to you with that. So.
And that's where I was going. Thank you.
Yeah.
Obviously, police and fire should certainly get some, but I think, you know, whoever is essential should get some sort of premium pay, different levels, obviously, but it doesn't cost the taxpayer, well, the town taxpayer anything. It's all through the ARPA money. So if there's money available, I think it would be a nice gesture to all those that would qualify to get some of that.
Even ARPA money costs us money.
Even the counselors.
Doesn't grow up. But anyway.
Hey, we want to get this thing recommended.
I'll make a motion to recommend.
I'll second.
All right. Any other discussion?
No.
Okay, Sean, how do you vote?
No additional discussion.
No additional discussion. How do you vote on the motion to recommend?
Yes.
Yes. And Dennis?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. 3-0. All right. And I think at that, we've reached the end of our story.
Motion to adjourn.
Did we do everything? Yep.
Yeah.
No public comment? No? I'll second to adjourn.
All right.
To
Sean,
county
how do you-
council. I got 10 minutes.
Sean, how do you vote to adjourn? Yes, is it?
Yeah.
Dennis?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. 3-0, we're adjourned. All
All
right.
right, thank you all.
In 10.